That's awesome. So how did you find that opportunity? Because I feel like with some people, when they want to start a company and they're kind of in the early stages, but they don't necessarily know where to find funding. So how did you figure out where to go, and how did you get into that, where you're pitching to some of the biggest companies in Manchester?
Really good question. So I kind of did it backwards. And I don't know if I actually planned this or it kind of came to me, but I actually started going to pitch practice sessions. I looked on Eventbrite, I looked at pitching sessions, and it was just an opportunity for businesses to pitch, not to an actual investor, but to people that are either actually are investors or associated with investors. So indirectly, whether or not I realized it, I was getting some really, really good advice from people that have invested in businesses in the past. And that kind of opened up the network. So as soon as I was ready to actually raise investment, I already had contacts from people I'd pitched to say, hey, go to this event, go to that event, speak to this person, speak to that person. So yeah, I kind of started with a base of practicing, and then that opened up to a larger network where I could actually start officially pitching to people.
I think that's extremely smart though, right? Like you're making those contacts, which is great, but two, you're refining your pitch as you're going as well. So you're not just going
Exactly.
to your,
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and I guess a lot of businesses could potentially make that mistake, right? Where you've got your business, you've got this great idea, you're certain that you need investment, and then you go and pitch to the most ideal investor within your vicinity, right? And you might have an absolutely amazing business idea, but because that was your first ever pitch, you're a bit rusty, you weren't sure on everything that an investor might ask, and you lost out on a great opportunity there simply because you've put all your eggs in one basket and went for the first and the biggest investor when you've not had the prior experience.
I think that's right. I feel like a lot of people, they want that ideal investor first, but in your case, like it makes perfect sense to not go for that
Sure,
person so you
you
can
start from the
refine it.
bottom. Yeah, I'm not saying take everybody's advice. I remember. So does GDPR affect you guys?
I don't know if I'm being completely honest.
So GDPR is like this new legislation brought out in the UK where basically everybody's data is now private. So, if a business has emails that they've scraped from websites and things like that, that's now personal information. You can't share that. So I was told by an investor in one of my first ever pitches that once GDPR comes into place, influencer marketing is going to be dead.
Okay.
So if I'd have took that person's advice, God knows where I'd be right now. So I think that's a message to anybody that is pitching. Don't always take an investor's advice as gold, because not everybody's right. But I would, as I said before, always start small. Don't try and be perfect. Listen to people, learn, and and work your way up as you go along.
And I think that's great advice, because I feel like, especially if someone that's new into this space, they're going to take everything that the potential investors say to them, like
Yeah,
fully.
and naturally you think that, right? You think, oh my God, an investor, shit, I need to take every word he says for it. But some people, investors, whatever their role is, people are people, and people have opinions, and people's opinions aren't always right.
There was one story I did want to ask you about. So I mentioned in the intro how you've started your own company. Now you've started Social Plug, but
Sure,
that's not the first company that you started. You originally started a clothing line, I think, when you were 16, right?
I did, right?
Yeah, can you kind of tell that story?
Sure. So um, I'd managed to build quite a large following on Twitter. And obviously, I had a lot of fans. I'd looked at my audience, I'd recognized a lot of them were girls. I wanted to do something with all the money that I'd accumulated from filming. And I would say I was very naive, because what I'd done was I decided that I wanted to start a business. Business is always something I've been passionate about, I've been interested in. I've always had dreams of owning my own business. Um, and, I wouldn't say that it scared me to ever work for somebody, but I knew that in this life while we're here, I had to want to do something for myself and work towards my own dreams, right? So I basically decided that I was going to start a women's clothing line. Do not ask what I thought I knew about women's clothes. So basically, I had all this money. I decided to start going around all these shops, looking at handbags, coats, jumpers. My mum was having the time of her life. She was picking all this stuff out, going, the girls will love this, the girls will love that. We had a whole truck's worth of stock. We'd built this website. was raving about it going live. The day that it went live, not one person bought a product.
Wow.
I'd lost I'd lost 5 figures.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I was stuck with a hell of a lot of stock. And then I tried to get rid of it to friends and family, but as friends and family do, they bought a few pieces. I had no other choice but to get rid of it because obviously it was taking room up in the house, the loft. I ended up having to auction it off. I remember getting a check back for £19.
For all of the clothes you bought, you got £19 back.
All of the clothes. I remember them sending me pictures of how they advertised it. These were upmarket dresses that they took pictures of hanging off the hangers. Like they'd not even took decent pictures. And they told me that a stockist was interested in buying the lot, and they'd got it down to £19. And then they got back to me saying, "Am I happy with their service?"
Holy shit. So it's like with that, like looking back at that, what are some of the key takeaways you took from it? Like things you learned from trying to start your own business, your first one?
So my first one, the big, big, big first lesson, and I know it sounds strange, but I'd actually never take it back because I learned one fundamental thing. Don't dive into something that you don't know about. Just because you're interested in something and might have the money to do it, don't just go in and jump in it. Research the market, know why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. I had absolutely no idea about the customer and what value I was providing for them. I think I was a bit arrogant in the respect that I just thought people would buy it because they were my fans. I really didn't do my research in that respect. And secondly, don't go and spend an absolute fortune buying products. You only need to start with one. And funnily enough, with my new company now, I'm actually selling clothes again. I'm actually selling merchandise again. But only on this occasion, what I've learned from my last lesson was that now I only buy the products as they're sold.
Another quote that I heard you say at one point, which I feel like is really applicable to social media right now, is you spent a shitload of money trying to impress people. Can
Agreed.
you can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like when, like, because this quote saying you used to do that and then you stopped. So when did that realization come in with you where you kind of stopped spending money just to impress other people?
So because I was obviously on such a popular TV show, I think people naturally judge. Everybody judges. I try to live up to my lifestyle from being a TV star, a young TV star. And I had this idea that people always thought I was rich and that I will still be rich. And I tried to live up to it, and that had mental implications. What I'd realized shortly after was that I'm trying to impress people that don't actually give an F about me. They don't. And I think people should really, really understand why would you go out and why would you go out and buy an expensive bag if you can't afford to put anything in it? And all you're doing it for is a post on Instagram to impress who? To impress like to get your likes up. I think that's why Instagram are looking at turning off their likes now, and I think that's gonna have so much positive effect.